Hello everyone, this is Jopelix from Finland, and this is my interview for DashFight. No, of course not. That's like something you dream when you're sleeping, like, oh, I cannot wait offline. Maybe that's something you thought of like a year ago, like, oh, this is gonna go away this year. Next year, maybe like before summer we can play offline. But after the things have, turned out, it's not possible. But then suddenly, I'm here. Like, how did this happen? I had no idea this would happen at all. Well, for me, like, surprisingly, for some people and for some not, I wasn't like the first option. But a lot of people had to cancel because of COVID or personal situations and whatnot, and some people caught COVID and things like that. So I was on the reserve list. So they asked people around in Europe who could attend like in a short notice. So I got to know that I would attend this tourney like 5 days ago. So I didn't even get to like think about it. It was like, oh shit, okay, I gotta go. And now I'm realizing, oh shit, we actually play offline Tekken here. I'm enjoying life. We're all, like you can see the smile. I'm like, I didn't know I was coming here, but now I'm here, so I'm happy. No, I don't mind at all. Like people, because the thing is, they take champions and big names and sponsored players. I'm from a small scene, Finland. A small country, small scene, not that known. I'm probably the only known player like nowadays. Like maybe 2 years, 3 years. I'm the only like known player, and still I'm not that known. People don't know me. Who's that guy? He probably just plays online and goes to the tournament and gets 2-0 against every foreigner, like Asian or Pakistani or whoever. But actually, I've traveled a bit. I played in Evo Japan, beat Saint, last Pixel JDCR, last Pixel against Gen. Names everyone knows. So you don't know me, but I'll show you in the game that you will know me on this tourney. Yeah, the tourneys I've been to, like the biggest one is obviously Evo. Well, it still feels like, before the final day, it feels really like grassroots. Like the people who run the pool, and it's not like really organized, or the timings are a bit off every day. So this is the first like esports feeling event I've been to. Like we shooting, like you said, we shot those boxing gloves things, and we got shuttle, and people pay for our food. We just go and ask like, hey, can we get some pizza, and they just deliver it to you. Like this is my first time of, in this kind of event. It's pretty cool. Some people don't like the esports aspect in fighting games, but I'm a bit more like, we gotta do this to make the scene bigger. That's my take on it. I mean, if I have to do something, I'm like, I gotta do it properly and not half-ass it. So I'm like, oh, I gotta hit the back, I'm gonna hit the back, and after it, people are like, oh, did you enjoy it? Not really, but I gave it my all. That's the kind of mentality I have. Yeah, if we're gonna do the same things as CSGO, League of Legends, Dota, everything like that, they do this all the time. So when we do it, it's like we're out of our own place, like out of position, but someone's gotta start doing it so we can get on the same level as them, yeah? As a kid, yeah. I would say I was pretty bright kid, like doing a lot of things. Every time I got out, all my energy went there, and when I got home, I don't want to sleep, but I was really tired, and my parents could see it, so they put me to sleep, and like 2 minutes, I'm dead. Like, I fell asleep immediately, so I was always like the kind of kid who does all things like all day long, and gets home to the evening and passes out, that kind of kid. Like, I would say pretty extroverted kid. Like most people in Europe, I played football for a long time. I would say like 10 years, 11 years. And that was one of the reasons I started playing Tekken, because I got injured. Like, a lot of people get injured while doing physical activities. So I had to do something. I'm a competitive player, competitive spirit, competitive person. So I'm like, yeah, Tekken sounds good. I went to my first tournament, got my ass handed to me, and then I was like, yeah, I want to get better. I don't want that feeling again. So that's how it went. I think it was like 2015. Like that was during Tech 2. I was like 18, so I was a young kid. I remember going, I didn't know anyone, because I'm from a small town, so I didn't know anyone in the scene. I just read like, oh, they have a tournament in a different city. So my father drove me there, like 2 hours, not too bad. And we stayed in the hotel, so it was like a big deal to me that I even got there. Because if my father had something, he wouldn't try me, you know. So I was just happy to be there. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know how good they were. I made it out of my pools, surprisingly, and I actually beat like a good player getting through pools. He made it 2, and then in playoffs he smacked me like 3-0, like real fast. He downloaded me because I was like one note kind of guy back then, like all in or nothing. I didn't know how to play the game, and then I got bodied. So it was amazing, but I was pissed because I lost. Well, at first it was just like, oh, he plays games, okay, cool. Nothing too big, but when I got better at Tekken, like I would say like 2018, when I started to go to international tournaments in Europe, my father was like, okay, you can actually play the game, huh? Okay, I see you. And then he gave me like pocket money for food when I traveled and things like that. So they were supportive of my hobby. And they're like, okay, you do you, go school, play Tekken, it's all good. If you like it, you do you. And they're still very supportive. Like this coming here was also a big like stepping stone, because you know it's COVID time and a lot of people would say don't go. I won't let you go. But they're like, okay, I understand it's a big thing to you. I would otherwise say no, but I know how much it means to you, so you should go. And that tells you pretty much about everything about my parents on my hobby. Like the atmosphere obviously is way different. Like you get to chit chat and talk, and they're next to you, and you see the reactions. You see how hard they press their stick or pad. Like, oh, I'm pissed. It's just enjoyable, but I didn't feel like the feeling didn't leave me. Like when I came back, it felt like home. I'm like, oh, I'm used to this. I missed it, but it didn't feel like unnatural. You know, some people go, I've been away so long, it feels weird, like few days, you gotta get used to it. It wasn't for me nothing like that. I just got here, played games, I'm like, yeah, this is it, I'm having fun. Well, the best player overall, I think everybody knows, it's Arsenal Nash. He's the WUFL champ. And other than that, it's always, because European Tekken in the public eye isn't seen as a strong region. So it's always the foreigners for us, so the Korean, Japanese, Pakistani, US, you know, South America, like all these players. And I'm gonna say name Saudi Arabia, a lot of good, strong players from there. Shout out to you guys if you watch this interview. So in Europe, it's usually like people say Super Akuma because he's very well known. He does good in tournaments, always been TWD World Finals. So it's Super Akuma than everybody else, that kind of mindset. But I think like during this COVID situation, a lot of players have improved, obviously, because they got to train and play online. I don't play online that much, to be honest, like online tourneys and whatnot. I'm more of a like, you got to have a good connection to actually play properly. Otherwise you won't learn, and you got to have the mindset that you got to grind it out, but not too much until you become like, you cannot think anymore. If you play like 10 hours a day, your brain don't work anymore. It doesn't work. It's like you're just grinding and doing the same thing over and over again and not learning. So I would recommend for people like 2 to 3 hours, like intense training and think about everything you're doing, and then take a break and maybe later play again. Yeah, what I said was the biggest thing I did, of course. Outside of the game, I think about the game a lot, like situations and matchups and things like that. And you watch like streams from Korean tournaments, Pakistani tournaments, Japanese tournaments, because they've been having tournaments, and it's online or offline, you know, depends on the region. But they have good connections, like 5 bar on PC, so it feels like offline almost. To be honest, PC is better than PS4, so it's actually almost the same as offline PS4. So you watch those players and how they play the characters, how the meta evolves, like Fakum Braum and how he got nerfed and things like that. So you study a lot outside of the game too, but when you study, then you go play the 2 or 3 hours and try to implement what you've studied, and then you go back to the drawing board and do it again and again and again. But sometimes you cannot just be on the grind, so to say. sometimes you just gotta let loose and play for fun for a day and then go on the grind again. I think I've learned the skill. Like when I was young, especially football, and when I started competing in Tekken, if things didn't go my way, I got like tilted, you could say, like, oh, I did that, why did that come out, that kind of, and it's stuck with me for a while. Like I could lose a match because of that. Like I was like emotionally connected, emotionally connected to the mistakes, you could say. But I've learned that if something weird happens or I did something incorrectly, it's like, oh, the opponent played better. That kind of mentality, like, it's not you that made mistake, it happens. If it was a mistake, cool. Or if you just lose, the opponent played better. And after the match, you know, you can think about it objectively. But in the heat of the moment, you want to don't get stuck on the, oh shit, I should have done this, should have done that. If you start thinking that, you're not thinking forward and you might lose the match because of it. It came natural to me. The more I played, the more I like, and of course I was a kid back then. I didn't know myself that well. You know, you grew as a person, you grew as a competitor. Because in Tekken it shows in game what kind of player you are. Because you have so much different situations you can play out, and when something doesn't go according to plan and how people react in game, it shows their personality too. So it just came natural to me, like when I got older, and. Of course, I watched like interviews and plays of the top players, but it's just something I came up by myself. For me, like as a competitor right now, and I know I got a few years left, at least like good years, like I'm competitively and can do this. I got enough free time, like I got no like family to hold me down. That's, you know, if you got family like small kid and something like that, it's harder to grind because you gotta take care of your family first. So for now, I'm grinding, I'm feeling good. And my goal is always to win a major. Like any major, obviously, it would be better if there were like top players there, like Austin, JDC, Anilo, Hai, Chikurin, all these like amazing known names, godlike players, even players I look up to, like, oh, because I would say a major win, but after that would be like, oh, I've done it, this is it, or do I keep grinding or do I teach other people? I don't know. I'm not the kind of person who would say, yeah, this is what I would do, because in the moment you react differently how you say right now at the moment. A lot of people will think like, oh, in a few years I'll do this, I'll be like that, I'll be at that job, I'll be at that university. Life doesn't go like that. So I won't say what I will do. The time will show if it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'll see what I'll do. I'm realistic about it like that. I would say like 2018, that was my second international tourney in United Kingdom. It was a strong style qualifier for, it's the West Coast tourney run by Bronson Tran and his peeps, like a grassroots event really known in the Tekken scene. It was the EU qualifier, so if you won, you got the flights there, like they were paid for you. So I played against Super Akuma, as you guys know the name. We played a long set, and that was the first tourney I started really playing my now main character, Claudio. And I reset the bracket and it went to final round. I got a launcher, I didn't drop the combo and the pop-off. I jumped, cheered, through my pad, I tried to hit the like a haystack kind of thing, like beanbag is the name. And just like pop off, like, yeah. I accidentally slipped on my hand, and it went to a dude's face, like, doof. Thank God he didn't get hurt. We laughed it out, I picked him up, we laughed it out, and it was like a memorable moment, but a victory, a pop-off, and a funny moment, like back to back to back. You cannot like repeat that, that's like unbelievable. I think some people remember me from just that, because it was on Reddit and things like that, like, who's this Jopelix guy? You show the clip, I know the guy. Like that, it was amazing. I still got back at the clip and just smile, and that was good times. For now, I feel like I'm still on the up and coming, you know. People don't know me that well. Like this could be the tourney that I win a major, or it could be not. It could be the major I go 07 or make through the groups. Nobody knows. I gotta play. I'm confident in my skills, but you don't know how it goes. But players who look up to me, like let's say they're a Claudio player, like, oh, I really like you, Claudio. Of course it brightens my day. Like, oh shit, someone looks up to me. Like I looked up back in Tag 2 days, a player called Hao. he played Feng and I played Feng. I'm like, yeah, he's so good. He's my role model. I watch every match of his online and things like that. So if people do the same for me, I know how it feels like. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. But the thing is, if you keep grinding, you could be there one day yourself. And some people take it, better than others. Like, oh, I love you, Claudio. Okay, cool, and move on. But for me, it's like I stay in the moment for like a few seconds, appreciate it, because I know how it feels to be on the other side when you look up to someone. I'm like, cool, let's go. So for me, when I switched to Claudio, like late 2017, early 2018, I used to play Feng in TAC 2, like 2015 forward, and the first year in Tekken 7. He was a good character, like in season 1 of Tekken 7, he was a good character, but the reason I switched to Claudio was because Feng's hop kick was trash. And I mean like really trash. And like then I played Claudio just to practice my whiff punishing with hop kick, because he had a good hop kick. So I practiced whiff punishing and I realized, oh, I'm way better of a player if I do spacing kind of gameplay and do reads than do aggressive like small situations. So if I have a read on you, Claudio can punish you really hard. With Feng, it's like you get something, but it's not like a satisfying like bam, a huge combo. But with Claudio, every time you do like whiff something big, it's a huge combo for me. So I accidentally stumbled while training my whiff punishing with hop kick. I stumbled on my main character. Like I didn't know that. Like back then I was just, oh, this is good practice. Then I played tournaments with him and I'm like, oh, this could be something. Like I said, the next major with Super Akuma, which I won, I played Feng, lost, switched to Claudio, won. And that was the moment I'm like, okay, I'm switching fully. Well, for us, it's been a blessing. Like nobody has got the coronavirus, so that's good. My mom, she's a nurse, so she's got a job, she's very needed. And my dad also has a job still. He hasn't got fired. So I would say like, of course it affects everyone, but for our family it's been a blessing. Like nobody has gotten like bad end of a stick sort of way, you could say. So we're doing okay. Well, for me, the change wasn't that big because I'm not the kind of person who goes out on the weekends to do the bar trip, like this bar, that bar, next bar. Because I'm from a small town, so we don't have that many bars either. So it's like, oh, I've been there a few times, I've seen the place, it's cool. I don't have. So it was more like, do I get to spend time with my friends and hang out kind of thing, or you cannot go to the movies together, or cannot. The Tekken thing was probably like the biggest change for me personally in my private life when COVID hit. Obviously, no more tournaments, no more traveling, because traveling was a big part of my life in 2019. Like, almost every month I went to a tourney in Europe because of a TWT or a Finnish tournament, because we had like 2 or 3 Finnish tournaments during it, and they thankfully put the weekends where it didn't overlap with my travels and whatnot, so they were gracious enough for that. So I think it's the traveling more than being at home and going bars and whatnot, so the traveling probably. Yeah, for me, like, I'm a Tekken guy, and we have our own Tekken Discord, and we talk a lot, like every day, a lot of posts, like 200 active members. Like, we talk about Tekken, talk about life, talk about like anything on this planet Earth, especially now during COVID. But we also have like a Finnish Tekken scene Discord, but I'm not that like big part of it because I don't see the guys that often. And I don't really like know personally, because I know in the Finnish Tekken scene I got like a handful of like close friends I chit chat with every day. Like that got me through like the weekdays that were like, oh shit, I'm so bored, life's pain, I cannot go anywhere. You just go to the server, pop up, somebody comes like, hey man, how you doing? And then you start chit chat, and then you can talk about life a bit after, you know. I think a lot of people, if they're alone especially, they live alone, and they don't have active people to talk to on Discord or voice chat or whatever, it can get really, really lonely because you cannot see anyone like live. So for me, it's been like keeping company on weekdays was the biggest part. Like, I don't feel like I'm like sad that, oh, I cannot do anything today. It's more like I get to talk with the guys and maybe some tournament is going on. Like, I try to look at the positives, although reality is often disappointing. Yeah, for me, soul searched a lot before even COVID, when it was like 17, 18, 19, like before I turned 20s. So I didn't have any struggle. I know it's, some people don't like to hear that, like, oh, you're lying, or you're just trying to put out a bright front or be optimistic. No, I don't have like depression. I've never been like life is pain kind of mentality, but that kind of person I am. I know what I like, what I don't like, how I like to do my things, how I like my group of friends being like smaller, because I don't like the, oh, I'm your homie, but behind your back I'm not your homie. So I want to know the people I'm with all the time, and that's also a decision I've made like a long time ago. So for me, I've been good, like mentally. I've been, I would say, almost the best condition you can be in these hard times. Well, the preparation was like, I want to know the players who's coming. That's the only thing I cared about. I saw the list, I'm like, okay, we got a lot of good players, a lot of players I know from Europe, the players. I played against Seidan JGCR. Like the only guys I haven't played against are the Pakistani players, so 3 players. So I had a good like knowledge of things, like how they play, what characters they play. So I wasn't too nervous. I didn't like prepare, but I just play well and do my own thing, and maybe 1-2 things I know about the person or the character that maybe I can use in my matches that they don't know, or the character matchup maybe they don't know. But other than that, it's just you gotta play good Tekken. You cannot go far by using tricks or, maybe he doesn't know and try something dumb. It doesn't get you far against the best players. You just gotta play good. For me, I watch a lot of tourneys, and especially Korean, because Lohai has been my favorite player for a long time in Tekken 7. And I was so sad that he didn't get a big win. Like, he was so good, but he didn't perform like as well as his skills showed. Like, I know how good he was. But then he won EVO, and I felt like, I felt justified on being his fan. I'm like, yeah, that showed you guys. I knew he was an amazing player. And I watch a lot of his streams or his tourneys and a lot of other Korean players, because I speak the language a bit, I understand the language, so I can, like, they watch their own matches and talk through what they experienced or what was the thought process. I watch those, I'm like, okay, I would have done this differently, and then he explains, I'm like, okay, that's what I would have done differently. Like, different players do different things, but I just want to get as much like deep thought. How did they see the situation? Why did they do this move instead of that move? Like, you get like a bigger picture on the mindset, like what they were looking for in the match, or was it like, I don't care, I just do shit now because I feel like he's like stressing out, like just do shit and make him more stressed. So, and of course I watch a lot of Arslan's streams, because he plays a lot of good players with, like, Pakistani players, and I think it's more of like, I put myself in their shoes. Like, let's say Arslan is playing, I put myself in his shoes, like what character is playing in this situation. I would do this, he does something differently, and then I think, why did he do that? And then he plays the situation. I'm like, oh, I see. Or like, oh, my thing would have worked there, but he did this. So it's like give and take on the thought process thing. Like, I take from them and I try to mirror what I would do, and that's how I learn, like, how they think about situations. And then I go practice and test, like, what would have been the optimal option. But optimal option isn't always the best. It's what works at that moment. So it's I don't want to get too deep in the Tekken meta, like, knowledge game, but there's a lot of moving parts, and especially in tournaments. It's when I play even against Finnish players who, European players, people are, they're not good, but we got a handful of good players in Finland, like, good enough that I can practice against them, and they play specific characters or play specific situations, and I can practice with them and tell them, you want to play this character, or you want to do this situation a lot. So I get muscle memory, I get practice, and it's like the best option. I do the best option a lot until I see they adapt, and then I adapt my option. Then it's a mind game, So that's the Tekken meta, how it goes. The meta could be really dumb depending on the players or how the match went or what worked. They could do it again just to annoy you and then stop it completely, but you're still thinking about, like, oh, he's going to do it again, but your opponent is already, I'm never going to do it again. Let him think about it. I'm going to do something completely different. Well, for season 3 especially, A lot of people were bummed about Leroy and fucking Bram. They were way too strong. Everybody knew that who played the game competitively. They were really overtuned, broken characters, dumb characters. Season 4 fixed a lot of things, you know, made like best characters worse. But like overall for Tekken, I think they should maybe switch it up a bit, because Tekken's 5, 6, and 7 is almost the same game with subtle differences and better graphics. But maybe they should do something completely different, but that's just my take. A lot of people like Tekken because it's always the same, you know? But for me, maybe Tekken 8, they should try something different again, like Tekken 4 was really different before from Tekken 3 and Tak 1. So maybe they should do that again, but with the knowledge they've gathered, they can do more like reasonable, or what you call it, like logical adjustments that wouldn't be like out of left field, but still a bit different. You know, they got more info now than they did back like 20 years ago. So change the game a bit more than you have thus far, I would say. Well, I'm gonna give a really boring answer, but it's better netcode, online training mode, where's team battle, the story mode is trash, you know, things like that. And of course the production value in Tekken 7 wasn't that high from what we've heard from Harada and Michael Murray. So I think, and I hope for Tekken 7 the budget for the game would be bigger, so we get better stages, better costumes, you know, the game would look more expensive, you could say, like it would be more presentable. It's already like good now, but you can see like they copied a lot of maps and there's a lot of shortcuts they had to take because they didn't have a bigger budget. So I would say that would be one thing I hope they have, but that's not something we can have an effect on. I'm gonna be honest, dude, the difference isn't big. It's just I'm doing better in tourneys. I'm still the same guy. You know, some people get, let's be honest, big-headed when they do well. They were like, oh shit, I'm top of the world, nobody can touch me. But if you have that kind of mentality, you could be on top of the world for some time, but when you fall, the fall is so big, I don't know if you can get back up. That's the thing, like, for me, when I had the big-headed moment, it lasted like a few weeks, 2-3 weeks, when I won the Finnish national tourney. And I was feeling myself, I'm like, I'm the shit, I'm top of the world. But then I realized, like, this is not enough. I won't beat like best players in the world. I won't beat the European, even top European players, top Korean, top Pakistani. Well, we didn't know about Pakistan back then. Top Japanese, top Korean, those were like the best countries back then. So I realized like my level of play currently isn't enough. If I get big-headed, I won't improve. You gotta be like, I gotta grind more, I gotta be humble on it. Like, yeah, I'm good, but I'm not good enough to win the best players. So you always gotta be like, yeah, I'm good right now, but what could I be if I train more? Like that kind of mentality. Because if you become stagnated, like I'm good enough right now, then you're not aiming to be the best. You're not training with the mindset like I want to be the best. You're training with the mindset I want to make top 8, and that's okay too if that's your goal. But that's not the goal for me. I would say that helps a lot. Like you're a young kid, you learn how to be competitive, you learn how to take losses. And I played as a goalkeeper because I'm a tall guy. I'm like 191, 192 centimeters, yeah. So that I was a goalie. That's like almost like a single player game by itself, because I'm not affecting only like my defenders. Like we talking to each other like my ball or something like that. But it's like I gotta keep the goal safe, yeah. So that was like my own task and only task. So it's like I was competing against myself the entire time, although I played a team sport. So that's how I knew, like, I tried my diving on my free time, my goal kicks, you know. I practiced a lot by myself and by my friends, like, who played football with me. So I think that's where the improvement grind comes from, like back in when I played football. I just want to make myself proud, first and foremost. That's the most important part. Like you can do it for your people, like for Finland, for Europe, I think most people feel accomplishment by that, you know. I'm wearing a Finnish jersey, as you can see. So of course I'm representing Finland, but first and foremost, I'm representing myself. And that was something I couldn't cope with because we had the national championship, like different tourneys. I was representing Finland, and that took a heavy toll on me. Like, I felt like I was competing for the country, but then after one of those, I'm like, no, I'm playing for myself, my own skill. I'm representing myself. So the burden became like non-existent, you could say. Like here, I'm wearing this, but it's more like, yeah, cool. I'm from Finland, but I'm playing for myself. So where I see myself, it's wherever my hard work takes me. If it's the championship or the major, cool. If it's not, I want to pass on my knowledge to the up-and-coming players so maybe they can do it and I can feel the accomplishment as a coach. Like, you did well, that's good. I'll take like 2% of that. Yes and no. I enjoy coaching if you're at a certain level, because we can talk real deep thoughts, deep meta of Tekken. But if you're like really beginner, it's really hard for me personally to like one by one show you, oh, this does that, this does this, like really basic, because it gets really boring for me. Like, it's not activating my brain at all. You know what I mean? So I get real bored of that. So if I were the coach, I would want players who have played Tekken and want to get to the next level, and not players who are starting out. So that's what I would say. Yeah, the thing with me is like, I like to be real straightforward with you. Like, I want to be honest. If you suck, you suck. If you did this, you did that. Why would you do that? Like, some people don't like that kind of coaching. They like it like, oh, you're doing good. Just keep in mind like this and that. I know, you know, it works for some people, but the people I've coached who are like, okay, keep it 100. It's been absolutely fantastic, because I can just say what I think and they'll be like, okay, cool, but why? And that's important. A lot of students don't ask why. They just like, okay, coach said this, it must be true. And it's in every sport, you know, football, UFC, whatever. But you respect the coach. You like, I don't want to talk back or ask questions. But for me, I'm like, please ask. I can explain to you. You don't have to agree with me, but this is one way of looking at things. You know, this comes from like, I look at Korea, Pakistan, Japanese players, like, oh, you did that, I understand, but I wouldn't do that. That's where it comes from me, so I want to go on, like, ask questions. Why would I do that? I do this because of that. You disagree, okay. Your decision, okay. My decision, okay. But now you know this is also an option. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's a pond you grow with the person you're coaching. I feel like for my friends as well, it's like I only want the truth. When we speak and you feel one kind of way, I don't want you to hide behind you like, oh, I'm having a hard time, but you don't tell me what it is, or like you make excuses like I was having a bad day, or yeah, dude, I didn't get this or that because of this. Just be straight up. If you're honest to yourself, you can be honest to others, and then I can be honest to you back. That's how it goes. It's like if you're, as a person, open enough and confident enough, and you're comfortable in your own skin, you can be honest to yourself, honest to the other person you're talking to, and that goes a long way, especially in competitive sport, because it comes from the fighting spirit, and if you don't have it, it's hard to get good. So you're gonna be honest, like, do I have it? Do I not have it? So it's I think the truth is the most important aspect of my coaching and way of living, way of life. Like, of course, if I'm not close with someone, I don't, you know, be like, oh, this and that. I'm just okay, cool. But if we're close, and you want to get like really close with me, like close friends, you gotta be honest with yourself. Oh man, this is the kind of questions I cannot like answer properly, because there's too many options and then there's none. Yeah, let's go with the football coach for a day. I want to see how it feels to try to keep hang of like 40, 50-year-olds, like punk kids who are like, no coach, shut the fuck up, like things like that. I want to try how hard it is. Like, that would be interesting. For a day, I don't want to do it for a living, because I know it's really difficult. For a day, I want to see how it feels. Finnish players, okay. So, on top of my head, like, I don't know if they're gonna travel or anything like that. I'm just gonna name players that I think are like solid players who are also a friend of mine. And so we got like, guys, this is for you. A shout out to the Finnish players. So we got Kovie, we got Tilis, Harmonika, Omnide, Melkari. That's 5. I guess that's enough for you guys. So if you were named, let's go. If you were, sorry, I just named 5. Thanks to the EU people, you know, we gotta rep the EU region. You know, we're trying to get better during these hard times. I don't play online Tekken, sorry guys. I don't like 3 boss. 4 bot Tekken, it's difficult, but I know it's the only thing we got. But I'm not confident in playing in those environments and enjoying Tekken. So sorry guys, but hopefully in the future when we meet offline we can play lots of sets. Thanks. No niin pojat, se on tää klassinen, ehkä näette siinä toisessa haastattelussa. Oispa kaljaa. Tällä mennään joka kerta. Pojat on sanonut, että tää on hyvä. Kiitos.